Swiggity swooty. Hello and welcome to General Admissions Podcast, Wednesday night edition.
Hi, I'm Jeff Goldblum.
I wish I was that cool. So how we doing? What's going on?
Good, man. How's things on your end, my man?
Everything's pretty good. Can't complain.
Good.
If I could.
Sure you could.
Nobody gives a fuck.
I give a fuck. Let's see here. So, hello everybody. It's me, your boy. You know, keeping it real in his house like we do. So this week, this is kind of, John, this was your idea. Why don't you talk?
Yeah.
Why don't you bring up how what we're getting into tonight?
So I had a random thought about you don't hear about serial killers much anymore.
Nope. You really don't.
You don't. And I find that interesting. And sort of the general consensus is that because of the modern age, because of surveillance and cell phones and all of that stuff, that they're no longer as prevalent as they were. And we touched on it a little pre-stream. But the reality is they're actually just as prevalent as they've always been. And it's actually scary how much they go uncaught. And it's because they go uncaught that I think we don't hear about them that much.
Well, because I had actually I had to do a little bit of research because I'll be honest, I'm not very well versed in the serial killer community lingo or anything. I don't know. I don't watch true crime stuff. I never was very interested in those kinds of things. So I had to do a little bit of research when you brought up, you know, talking about using this as a talking point for tonight's episode. And I never just never, I had to look up, and I from what I saw, apparently, from what I researched, apparently, because I remember like in the 70s and 80s, serial killers were, you know, we were up to our tits in serial killers. And now it's like not so often. They like peaked in like the late 80s. And then it's supposedly the numbers have been like dwindling according to the statistics. But you're saying that that's not the case.
That's not the case. They are still, I believe at any given moment, I believe the statistic, as a matter of fact, before I say anything, I'm actually going to look it up. At any given Thank you, Google AI. Okay, so we'll just switch right on over to here. And says right here, based on the information gathered, the number of active serial killers at any given moment is difficult to pinpoint exactly, but estimates suggest the following. In the United States, FBI estimates, the FBI estimates that there are between 25 and 50 active serial killers at any given time. That means you do like quick math. You have a higher chance of bumping into a serial killer in your everyday activities than winning the lottery.
Jesus.
It's pretty wild, right?
Yeah, it's a little concerning.
Now, this is where the Northeastern University research from the Northeastern University indicates a significant decline in the number of active serial killers in recent decades, fewer than 50 in 2010s compared to hundreds in the 1970s and 80s, which is very interesting because they say hundreds, but they only ever caught a handful. They only ever caught like 50 or so. Now, some of the research that I was doing kind of brought up some interesting points of active serial killers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a serial killer is in like the databases are only people who've killed more than one person at different points in time. So it's like if a person does like a mass shooting situation and they kill a bunch of people in one area, they're not a serial killer. A serial killer commits multiple murders on different days, we'll just say, for explanation's point.
Mm-hmm.
But I specifically looked up, as the marquee at the top, the title says, list of serial killers active in the 2020s. And as you can tell, it is a lot more than a few. And granted, they are all over. This is all over the United States. The ones that always get me are
the
like
world, India and
Czech Republic, Chile, Bolivia,
yeah.
But Germany and the United States. Convicted of murdering 3 people in the United States and Germany and suspected of an additional one. He lured his last 2 victims through dating apps. And you don't think that these guys exist? I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying that people don't.
Yeah.
One of the parts that I think is maybe hilarious, darkly humorous, is that it's always the United States that has multiples. Where
now
all these other countries have like one, but it's always the United States that has multiples.
Now, do you think that's because one of the things I did look up was there's like 3 main things that supposedly are
the designations, the designators.
Yeah, like what will show like, oh, this person's most likely going to become a serial killer when they get older. One was animal cruelty, or like kill, just like especially during their childhood, like if they were prone to just like
harming animals
or killing them, dismembering them, whatever. Another was like being a pyromaniac and just being obsessed with fire and constantly burning shit. And another was if they grew up in a like poor or unfavorable household,
familial environment.
Yeah. Do you think that because a lot of these serial killers seem to be originating in the United States, do you think that that says something about living in the US? Like, do we typically have poor areas where people just become serial killers more so than anywhere else in the world? Do we?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, I think that, and this is, I think most other countries don't have the level of, I think did we talk about this? So in the United States, the amount of information that's actually kept on any given individual is far greater than any other country. You can track people in the United States way better. I mean, for fuck's sake, that's the part. It's like the phone book used to be a thing, and and that was everybody who was registered was in the phone book, and that was only in developed countries. That wasn't in every country. So even like in situations like the UK does not keep track of criminal records. They don't keep track of voting records. They don't keep track of like anything, and none of it's like public. You have to like file like FOIAs, but most of those, their version of FOIAs. Not every country has a FOIA.
I honestly have no idea what a FOIA is.
Freedom of Information Act.
Okay.
So if you want information, anything that's considered like public information, you can, court cases, you want to find something out, you can file a FOIA in the United States and you will get that information. Even with how dysfunctional our government actually is, you will get answers. May take 2 years, may take 4 years, but you will get it. That being said, we have rural areas, but I also think that we have the most developed areas. And that being said, that it's harder for people to disappear as easily it is in other countries, say Pakistan, Chile, Colombia. You know, granted, Colombia is what, the size of like South Carolina?
Yes, that's another thing, is I feel like a lot of these other countries are, I mean, India's really big. I know that's another one that was on the list. Russia, of course. But I also feel like Russia, like most of the population is on like the southern.
Right. And there's sections of Russia that are like very underdeveloped.
Yeah.
There's sections that are really highly developed, but there's also a lot of sections that are like rural as fuck. So that's where I think a lot of people fall through the cracks in other countries. You know, because even in the United States, I mean, how many people go missing and nobody follows up on it?
Mm-hmm.
Add that to a situation where, say, a town that nobody really keeps track of, especially like a poverty-stricken town, nobody's really going to follow up on. Now, the part you know, I wanted to ask you this. You said that you were never really interested in like the true crime stuff, which I think is very interesting, because it's like it never like tickled your medulla to figure out like why people do these kinds of things.
No, it was not really. I never really like watched anything like that. Like even when Cops was on in the 90s a lot, like if it was on TV and there was nothing else to watch, I would watch that. But I was never like like, oh, there's this documentary about this like murder mystery thing, and you know, about this one like the Ted Bundy show, or like what was that other show that came out? God, what's his name was in it?
Jeffrey Dahmer.
That's it, Dahmer. Yeah. That was another one where that one actor plays him. He's a good actor. He was this Quicksilver.
Yeah.
What's his name?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. That. Yeah. Good actor. He that like, even when those came out, I was never I'd never really cared to, you know.
I think it's interesting that it's today. You are 30 some years old and you realize that you found out about what it's called, the McDonald's triad.
Yeah, the McDonald triad is like if you fall into those cruel to pets, pyromaniac, and grow up in a poor household or something.
I'm pretty sure, almost 100% sure, that somebody that I know when I was a kid is probably not a child molester, a serial killer. Because when he was a kid, he was violent towards animals. And thankfully, I moved away. I'm not going to say his name for fear of anything, but I've thought about like going and looking up to see if his name popped up in any of either like registries or like in blotters, because he was weird. He was weird. But yeah, he used to like sit in the back of the class, and you would think like he wasn't like the smelly kid or anything along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Well dressed, parents were married, but he used to love to torture animals, and used to like, it was like the only thing he talked about, and it was like really awkward and stuff. And he was probably like 7 or 8 years old. It was rough.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was rough.
Maybe that was the one thing that kept it all together. That one good, decent household. If that wasn't,
I don't know, man. I don't think that really has anything to do with it. To be perfectly honest with you, I think the McDonald triad is actually outdated. I don't think it's not the same.
No,
I don't think that. No. I think that was like I use this analogy back in World War II. Planes used to go over Germany, and they would come back, and they would see where all the places on the body got shot up, and they would armor those things, and then they would go out, and then they would never come back. It's because they armored the wrong fucking part, and they were just kind of going off of what they found in this wrong way. So essentially, McDonald took a bunch of people that they had already caught, not realizing there's a bunch of people that they didn't catch, and he made an assessment off of the people that were caught. Now, if you want to talk about like narcissists, yeah, that's generally those guys. Ed Kemper, Ted Bundy, those guys come from those very highly specific traded backgrounds. Sure. Ed Kemper is an interesting case.
I don't know if I'm familiar with that. That's aside from like Ted Bundy and Dahmer, like those are the only two I've ever really heard of. Or like wasn't there like the Unabomber? Wasn't that like a serial killer type thing, or was that just like
kind of he was more just an American terrorist. He was the first real case of like eco-terrorism, because his whole thing was that Ted Kaczynski, he believed that humans were squandering the beauty of the planet and nature and all that stuff. And that's why he wanted to do these things to try and get people to wake up. He wrote this manifesto of like how we're screwing everything up. But he also hit the one of abusing animals, because he used to like shoot dogs and shit. He was twisted.
Jesus.
Yeah. He just didn't like people.
I mean, I don't like people either, but I'm not going to go around fucking every time I go to the fucking grocery store, I'm just like if there's like an older lady that's like, oh, excuse me, could you reach this for me? Absolutely, dear. Here you are. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah.
You know, but then like it's just some random asshole just like slowly walking or just like stops and not moving, and like I'm behind you, man. Come on, just common Kurt. Like I just
see, that's the problem, is you think he actually pays attention, and most people don't pay attention. Most people walk the same way that they drive. Most people.
Just this morning, I had someone. I was driving. I stopped at Wawa before taking my kid to school, and I'm in the lane about to make a right turn, and this person like is in the middle lane that usually goes straight. Like I notice in my peripheral in the side view mirror that like they have their blinker on to get behind me to get into my lane to make that same right turn, and they're like riding behind me and just like and I look at my rear view and it looks like they're like laughing or something. I'm like, oh, just like on their hands free on the phone or something. And then and I park my car and she parks two spots over. And as I'm like getting out, like unbuckling my seatbelt, I see her walking towards the Wawa, like screaming something at me and laughing at the same. I'm like, what are you going on about? And then unbuckle my kid out of the car seat. We go inside. I'm getting my coffee. She gets her little snack. And this person's just mean mugging me the whole time. And I'm like, what bug crawled up your ass? Like,
most people walk the way they drive. Most people live the way they drive. They are oblivious to the world around them and their surroundings. And that's why when they get in the car accident, they're like, oh, no, I didn't see him. Was your face buried in your phone? Were you not paying attention? Were you looking in the wrong direction? I almost drilled somebody doing the same thing at a four-way. They were looking in the wrong direction. I almost got drilled because I was having a conversation with my father and I wasn't paying attention.
It's crazy. It doesn't take much to.
Nope.
to really, yeah.
So
Even if you blink, like
here's
a deer can run in front of you or something.
here's the other problem with most serial killers is they've changed their tactics. And one of the most common, Heather Presti, born in 1982, is an American nurse convicted of serial killer. She is serving life imprisonment, having been convicted of murdering 3 patients by lethal injection, and is connected to at least 17 deaths in total, which took place in Western Pennsylvania. For crimes, Presti had intentionally administered lethal doses of insulin to nursing patients throughout 5 nursing homes in Pennsylvania. And that's the problem. Because when it's caught in institutions like this, they get ushered off to another institution. 5. She worked at 5 different fucking nursing homes. The first 2, she was charged with murdering a 55-year-old James Bartow, 83-year-old Joseph Campbell, both of whom had died on December 4th and 25th of 2022, respectively. Her third victim was 43 Nicholas Symbol, who died on May 1st, 2023. Presti claims she believed she was ending the suffering of a lot of people by doing what she did. Now, there is a current one. I believe he was busted or he's still at large, but he was also a nurse who was killing people in hospitals. Now, this is my
Fuck.
this doesn't interest you? This stuff doesn't interest you?
No. That's wild, but yeah, I'm not like I don't know. I've never heard something like that. I'm like, oh, I gotta know more. What else? You know, it's mind-boggling.
Charles Cullen. That's the one I'm thinking of. Charles Cullen. 1960s, an American serial killer. While working as a nurse, Cullen murdered dozens, possibly hundreds of patients during a 16 years spanning several New Jersey and Pennsylvania medical centers until finally being arrested in 2003. He confessed to committing as many as 40 murders, at least 29 of which have confirmed though interviews with police, psychiatrists, and journalists suggest he committed many more. Researchers who are intimately involved in the case believe Cullen may have murdered as many as 400 people. However, most murders cannot be confirmed due to lack of records. Yep.
Sheesh.
First murders of which Cullen later confessed occurred in St. Barnabas on June 11th, 1988. He administered a lethal overdose of intravenous medications to a patient. Cullen eventually admitted to killing several other patients in St. Barnabas, including AIDS patient who died after Cullen gave him an overdose of insulin. Wait a second. Didn't somebody else just do that? Cullen left St. Barnabas in January 1992 when the hospital authorities began investigating the contaminated IV bags. Investigation later determined that Cullen had most likely been responsible, resulting in dozens of other patients' deaths at the hospital. 1 month after leaving Barnabas, Cullen took a job at Western Hospital in Phillipsburg, New Jersey, where he murdered 3 elderly women with overdoses of heart medication, digoxin. His final victim said that a sneaky male nurse had ejected her as she slept. However, family members and healthcare providers at the hospital dismissed her comments as unfounded.
I'm never dating a nurse again.
That's 2 of them. What's another? There are several. Presti, Cullen. Here you go. Get out of here. Just the next time. Summers Point, New Jersey. What? Officials at Southern Point, New Jersey Hospital have notified 213 patients they may have been exposed to HIV or hepatitis B or C because of drug tampering that may have caused patients to come in contact with an employee's blood. What is a nurse with HIV, hepatitis B or C dealing with sanitized equipment? A former pharmacist at the hospital allegedly tampered with the drugs by replacing morphine with saline solution in vials that were administered to patients, according to an internal investigation at the hospital. This was between 2013 and 2014.
Jesus.
It's like there's a pattern. Right?
My ex used to work at that hospital. Wow.
Yeah, and I don't think that they ever actually released who the employee was that was arrested for this. Early this month at a hospital, Colorado notified.
She wasn't a pharmacist, so I know it wasn't her. She was a nurse.
They should get tested for HIV, hepatitis B and C. Excuse me.
This is an interesting one. Between 2019 and 2023, an alleged vigilante who killed car thieves in Sinaloa, Mexico, with a shot to the head minutes after stealing. Toy cars were found in the body of all victims. Due to this distinctive mark, the alleged murderer is popularly known as El Asesino del Carrito, the toy car killer, or El Juguetero, the toy maker. It is believed that they would be vigilante justice actions by one or more.
Francis, thank you for the follow or sub.
Hey. Thank you.
It is believed that they would be vigilante justice actions by one or more organized persons. That was kind of cut off by the sub alert.
Appreciate you, Francis. Francis, how you doing, bud?
This is recent. Sean Lannon is an American serial killer who killed at least 5 people in New Mexico and New Jersey, including his ex-wife, but has claimed to have killed 16 people. On March 5th, 2021, the bodies of 4 people were found in a vehicle in Albuquerque International Sunport parking garage. They were identified as Jennifer Lannon, Nee Whitman, 39, who was Lannon's ex-wife, Matthew Miller, 21, Justin Mata, 40, and Randall Apostolan, 60, 3 of whom were reported missing in January. 3 days later, 66-year-old Michael Debakowski was found bludgeoned to death in his home in East Greenwich Township, New Jersey. Lannon was arrested 2 days later in Missouri after he was caught driving Debakowski's car, which he had stolen following his arrest. He was brought back to New Jersey, where he claimed to have killed 16 people, 15 of whom were in New Mexico. Lannon also claimed to have been something abused as a minor by Debakowski. This is Sean Lannon. Look at those eyes. There's something to be said. If you can see the tops of somebody's eyes, there's something wrong with them.
I've heard that before. How like if you want to see if someone's like crazy or just not all there, you look at their eyes.
Yep.
I believe that. I think the eyes are definitely the window to the soul, so to speak.
Yeah. Here's one. Inside the bizarre case of a killer striking twice 23 years apart, murdering a mother and a daughter.
Jesus.
Known as a Lady of the Lake, Martha McKay loved playing hostess at the Snowden House in the Grand 1919 family estate on Horseshoe Lake, Arkansas, that she restored and reopened as an upscale bed and breakfast more than a decade ago. After living at the West Coast, Martha, 63, returned to the land her influential family had owned for generations, 1,000 acres lakefront property in Snowden House. She loved that house. Her longtime friend and neighbor Frank Bird tells People. Parties, reunions, and weddings held Snowden, yada, yada, yada. When the two were fatally shot inside Sally's home, Martha was devastated like we all were. Her sister Katie Hutton tells People. In the years to come, everyone thought they'd left the darkness behind them until the morning of March 25th, 2020, when Martha's bloodied body was found wrapped in blankets in the top of her stairs. The woman, known for her larger-than-life presence and good heart, had been stabbed and bludgeoned by the intruder. It was the same guy who killed her mother and cousin. Hours later, authorities who had pulled the man's body out of the lake were, then he drowned himself. Out of the lake were shocked to realize it was Travis Lewis, the 39-year-old man who'd gone to prison at the age of 17 after pleading guilty to killing Martha's mother and cousins years ago. Kind of weird.
Kinda. What like that? I mean, so I've never, like I said, I've never had any desire to read into these things and think like, oh, like what what makes this person tick.
Really?
Yeah, but like hearing that, it's like, yeah, like I kind of want to be like, yeah, why would like, don't get me wrong, dude, I fucking can't stand people, man. I'm like, and I would consider myself an extrovert. Like I don't mind being around. I love meeting new people, but then there's times when I'm just like, I won't be bothered. Like I'd rather if I can have my groceries ordered and then just like I usually order my groceries and I just pick them up. They already have them in a cart for me, and I'm just like, all right, thanks a lot. Put it in my car, go home. But like going to like the mall, I'm not like the mall's not that bad because like people are a little farther. I don't know. I think that's what it is. I think just people being so close to me. I'm not.
So for me, did you ever read The Art of War by Sun Tzu?
Yeah.
To know your enemy is to know yourself.
Like, yeah. It's mainly just like a bunch of one-liners, but it's like a long list of them, right?
And there's some explanations, but yeah, essentially it's and the one-liners are so that you can meditate on them for yourself. But I'm a firm believer that if you want to know, like, if you want to deal with the shadows in yourself, then you have to understand that you are capable of these horrible things. So as a human being, you're capable to do these things. But to me, it is that question of like, what would possess a person to cross that line of morality to go and do such a heinous act to innocent? It's always an innocent person. You never hear about, I mean, other than like fiction, like Dexter or something along those lines. But it's always like a nurse or some caretaker or some person that has direct access to like innocent people. Or, of course, that always falls back on the sex workers because they're just easy to disappear because they typically don't want to be tracked anyway. But
Yeah.
what is it that makes them cross that line into the darkness, that they throw all of society aside and go and commit a heinous act? That's the curiosity part for me.
Yeah, I can't wrap my head around that one.
Here's a kicker, if you want to hear a funny one.
I'm ready to laugh.
There really isn't like a whole lot of like. There's no reason to actually like say like this is funny or not. I mean, it is kind of funny. But you got to shed some light on on this subject somehow. Have you ever heard of the BTK killer, the bind, torture, kill killer?
Don't think I have.
So he was this guy. Some people say that there's a resemblance. I don't see it.
Resemblance of you to this guy? I don't know the stream up. Do you have a picture of him?
I don't see it. So this is Dennis Rader, and Dennis Rader did some truly heinous acts, and but he didn't fit any of the typical markers.
You heard it here, folks. Dennis Rader didn't disappear. He just went home.
That's not what I was saying. So what was so baffling was
come on, dude. That picture's so
he did these things where he literally bound up like prostitutes, and he raped them, and he slaughtered them, and he did all these horrible things, and then he stopped. And what's baffling is he's like one of the only serial killers who just like stopped and it didn't die. So like typically a serial killer stops because they were arrested for some other charge, or they died, or something along those lines. It's not very typical for them to like just up and disappear and never hear from them again. And
it's not like they get it. They suddenly have a conscience.
Right. It's not like they suddenly have a conscience, except this guy stopped. And they couldn't figure out why. And it's because he became the president of his HOA. And he found, and he says that he found that it gave him just as much pleasure torturing people about their properties than it did fucking torture them in real life. You got to have a dark sense of humor. Is that fucked up?
Oh, I want to laugh. Oh.
It makes me hate HOA presidents even more.
Yeah. Holy shit. Oh, that's...
Yeah.
Oh, it's not funny. It is funny, but it's not funny.
But he was a father, and he had 2 children, and he was also like a pillar in the church and the community and all that stuff. And he was also a Cub Scout leader and all that, like all those things. Now, granted, he never hurt children, which is unusual. But he only ever committed acts against sex workers.
That's wild.
Yep.
I'm still digesting that. Torturing people about their homes and properties and stuff was just as fun as actually torturing them. So
physically torturing them. Oh my god. Yeah, after a 13-year hiatus.
Oh god, did you ever see what was the name of it? What We Do in the Shadows?
I've seen pieces of it. I've never actually watched the show.
Like it's about like these vampires that live together, but like one of them is like an energy vampire. He's like a social vampire.
Yes.
And he's just like the guy at the office that just like has these long drawn out like conversations and just like drains the energy out of these people. And it's like, yeah, I could suck their life force and their blood out of them or whatever, but like, dude, just like getting the energy off of them, but like just by talking to them is so much better.
Every time he
Like
enters the room, I just start falling asleep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, it's such a good show. They actually had an episode in Atlantic City.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I forget what it was. The first episode of one of the seasons. I think it was the third season, but they were like, but yeah, you could see like the resort's casino in like the background as they were like in a limo and they were driving around. You could see them there. I forget what they were, but I haven't seen it, so I got to rewatch it. But
okay, so then if this is something that this is something that's always interested me, because like I said, you know, and I don't want to reiterate the same point, but I've always wanted to figure out, like, it's kind of easy to figure out how most normal people tick or why they tick the way they do. These are like the fringe cases. Have you ever heard of Albert Fish? He was one of the earliest known serial killers in America.
Albert F-I-S-E. Oh, yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Albert Fish, American serial killer. 1936, the Moon Maniac killer is executed January 16th, 1936.
Yep. Fish moved to New York City, early adulthood and criminal history. Fish moved to New York City. There he engaged in male prostitution and began molesting and raping boys, mostly less than 6 years old. In 1898, Fish's mother arranged a marriage for him and Anna Hoffman, who was 9 years his junior. He was 20 years old, so she was 11. Right? If I read that correctly, in 98? Yep. No, he was 28. She was 17. They had 6 children: Albert, Anna, Gertrude, Eugene, John, and Henry Fish. In 1903, Fish was arrested for grand larceny, convicted, and incarcerated in Sing Sing prison. What did you steal in 1918 that would get you grand larceny back then? Grand larceny is over $33,000, $1,000 to $3,000.
I was just about to ask. I don't know what grand larceny is.
Yeah. Fish later recounted an incident in which a male lover took him to a wax museum where he was fascinated by a bisection of the human member and subsequently became obsessed with sexual mutilation. Nice. Several years later, around 1910, Fish was working in Wilmington, Delaware, when he met a 19-year-old man named Thomas Bedin. He took Bedin to where he was staying, and the two began sadomasochistic relationship. It is unclear whether or not the sadomasochism was consensual or on Bedin's part, but Fish's later confession implied that Bedin was intellectually disabled. Nice. After 10 days, Fish took Bedin to an old farmhouse where he tortured him over 2 weeks. Fish eventually tied Bedin up and cut off his member. I shall never forget his scream or the look he gave me. Fish later recalled he originally intended to kill Bedin, cut up his body, and take him home, but he feared the hot weather would draw attention. Oh, by the way, this is the X-ray of Fish's pelvis, where they found 24 self-embedded needles, and it actually fried the electric chair that they. What actually happened was they executed him, and it fried the electric chair, and they tried to figure out why. So then they X-rayed his junk, and that's what they found, was needles still in his body. Like he was just walking around like that. So this is the one that actually got him busted, was murder of Grace Budd. Fish was a classified advertisement. Oh, Fish saw a classified. This is the weird one. This is because there's so much about this that just goes like
the weird one.
Fish saw a classified advertisement in the Sunday edition of the New York World that read, "Young man, 18, wishes position in the country. Edward Budd, 406 West 15th Street." On 28th, Fish, then 58 years old, visited the Budd family in Manhattan under the pretense of hiring Ed. He later confessed that he planned to tie Edward up, mutilate him, and leave him to bleed to death. Fish introduced himself as Frank Howard, a farmer from Farmingdale, New York. Mind you, he didn't live in the country. He lived in New York.
Yeah.
He promised to hire Budd and his friend and said he would send for them in a few days. Fish failed to show up, but he sent a telegram to the Budd family apologizing and later set a later date. When Fish returned, he met Edward's younger sister, 10-year-old Grace Budd. He apparently shifted his attention toward Grace and quickly made up a story about having to attend his niece's birthday party. He persuaded the parents, Delia Bridget Flanagan and Albert Francis Budd Sr., to let Grace accompany him to the party that evening. Fish subsequently took Grace to an abandoned house he had previously picked out to use for the murder of his next victim, Wisteria Cottage, 359 Mountain Road, located in East Irvington, neighborhood of Irvington, New York. There, Fish manually strangled her to death, then decapitated and dismembered her body and ate most of her remains over the next several days. The police arrested 66-year-old Superintendent Charles Edward Pope on September 5th, 1930, as the suspect in Grace's disappearance. Accused by Pope's estranged wife, Pope spent 108 days in jail between the arrest and trial on December 2nd, 1930. He was found not guilty. Then, the letter. In November 1934, an anonymous letter sent to Grace's parents ultimately led the police to Fish. Budd's mother was illiterate and could not read the letter herself, so she had her son read it to her. The unaltered letter reads, "Dear Mrs. Budd, in 1894, a friend of mine shipped as a deckhand on the steamer Tacoma, Captain John Davis." Not Jonathan Davis. Corn? They sailed from San Francisco from Hong Kong, China. On arriving there, he and two others went ashore and got drunk. When they returned, the boat was gone. At the time, there was a famine in China. Meat of any kind was $1 to $3 a pound. So great was the suffering among the poor that children under 12 were sold for food in order to keep others from starving. A boy or a girl under 14 was not safe in the streets. You could go in any shop and ask for steak chops or stew meat. Part of the naked body of a boy or a girl would be brought out. Do you realize this? This is the letter that he sent to the mother to try and obfuscate his crimes. How did she get into San Francisco?
Obfuscate?
Obfuscate. Yes.
Obfuscate. What does that mean?
It means to
justify it, I guess.
No, to hide his crimes. It's to send in a different direction.
Okay.
So he basically sets up this red herring of oh yeah, your daughter was supposed to go with me, but somehow she ended up in San Francisco, and Chinese cannibals are so terrible that they scooped her up off the street. What the fuck was this guy thinking? Just absolute madness. Yep. And then the police investigated that. Yeah. And it also, I'm not going to get into the really graphic parts, but it goes into actually talking about how he ended up killing her. Yeah. She died a virgin. Yeah. Horrific. Fucking horrific. The part that, if you haven't noticed, is that most of them that I found are around New Jersey and New York.
Fucking moving. Getting the fuck out of Dodge.
Can't trust nobody, dude. None of the jurors doubted that Fish was insane, but ultimately, as one later explained, they felt he should be executed anyway. They found him to be sane and guilty. So they actually were like, oh yeah, he's mad. Kill him. The judge sentenced the defendant to death.
I can't fucking believe he shorted out the chair and they're like, what the hell happened? And then like just
Fish arrived at prison.
Fucking needles in his fucking junk. Like
yeah, he entered the chamber at 11:06 and was pronounced dead 3 minutes later. He was buried in Sing Sing Prison Cemetery. Fish is said to have helped the executioner position the electrodes on his body. His last words reported was, "I don't even know why I'm here." According to one witness present, it took 2 jolts before Fish died, creating the rumor that the apparatus was short-circuited by the needles that Fish had inserted into his body. These rumors were later regarded as untrue. Okay, my bad. Fish reportedly died in the same fashion and time frame as others in the electric chair. Okay. At the meeting with reporters after the execution, Fish's lawyer, James Dempsey, revealed that he was in possession of his client's final statement. This amounted to several pages of handwritten notes that Fish apparently penned in hours just prior to his death. When pressed by the assembled journalists to reveal the document's contents, Dempsey refused, stating, "I will never show it to anyone. It was the most filthy string of obscenities that I've ever read." Good riddance. May you rot in hell, Albert Fish.
This is becoming my least favorite episode that we've done so far.
Good. I'm glad. I finally found something that makes you uncomfortable. Well, we're at the 1 hour mark, so these are the things that I find interesting. What obscure thing do you find interesting, Stephen? Not sadomasochism and
it's just like I said before, like I can't wrap my head around like what would make you just wake up and be like, I'm just gonna mutilate people and kill them, and just like I just especially like just some random like these innocent kids too. Like I can't like a part of me like I'm thinking like what would make someone want to do that kind of terrible thing, but in that same breath I have to be like, I don't want to fucking know. I don't know. I don't want to spend 1 second in your head.
No, I'm the exact opposite. I want to know exactly what's going on in their heads so that I know what to protect my children from. I mean,
that's probably the only reason I would want to.
First of all, you don't put out a classified ad that you want to move out to the fucking woods and then just let any random fucking stranger come and stay at your house for a week.
Yeah.
That's like some basic common sense. Like, and then when he's like, "Hey, I want to take your 10-year-old daughter out to go see my niece's birthday party," you go, "No." I want to know what possesses the common person to not be able to say a 2-letter word that would save them from so many problems. No.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. That's what it is. That's what
a lot of it is like these parents, like, these people
are too trusting.
Yeah.
We live in a high trust society, and these people prey upon that. And to me, that is the absolute scummiest of the scummiest, the lowest of the low. That's why I hate scam callers. That's why I hate all these things, because they prey on people's good nature. If there's one thing that bothers me more than anything in this world, are people who prey on people's good nature. It's absolute scumbaggery. And we don't raise our children, or we don't teach in society to be stick to your guns. It's not a bad thing to say no.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm about helping the poor. Help the poor.
Yeah.
I don't want to help the poor get alcohol. I had a guy walk up to my car one time while I was sitting in a McDonald's drive-through, and he said to me, can you order me some more food? I said, yeah, sure. I said, but do me a favor, meet me around the front. I got out of the line. I went and I parked. I got out of the car. I walked over.
Mhm.
I said, I'll get you anything you want on that board. I don't care what the price is. I said, you got to make me a promise. Show up and talk to this guy and get a job. Oh man, I don't know. Like, I don't have this. He's not looking for your ID. He doesn't need any of that stuff. Get a job. It'll do that for you. I think I told you this story.
You might have.
I buy him breakfast, and about a week later goes by, and he's walking down the boardwalk, and he walks right up to me and one of the guys standing at the top of the boardwalk. And he starts giving me the whole rigmarole. Hey, man, I was wondering, listen, my wife, could you buy me a slice of pizza? I said, you don't recognize me, do you? And he's like, oh. I said, did you go down there and get that job?
Oops.
Did you go down right there? Right there. You're here. He's here. Go ahead. Walk down there. Ask for this guy. Go get the job. I don't have my tools. I don't have this. I don't care about any of that. He's going to hook you up with a gig. I already talked to him about it. You just you got to go down there and show up. That's it. Well, no. Could you get me some pizza? No, get away from me now. Get away from me now. Go away. You get nothing from me. Because I asked for a small favor. Better yourself. I also dealt with situations where I was in, and I knew right from the start, because I was working in Atlantic City since I was like 16 years old. I'll never forget. I came out of the fromage one day. I was,
Rip the fromage.
I miss it.
R.I.P.
I walk out to my car, and I already got the sense that somebody's walking up behind me. And I open the door, and I got the door right here, and he's walking straight at me now. And I turn and I look at him, and I said, you can stop right the fuck there. And he's like, whoa. He's like, that's not what I was like. I don't care what it was. Say your piece. Well, I was wondering if, no, I just got off of work. Sorry. Got in my car and drove off while the guy was just standing there like, what just happened? Because head's got to be on a swivel. Your senses got to be high. What's up, Peter? Senses got to be high. You got to be able to be on guard. You can't be in a city situation and just like, the one that like gets me is like when I see people, like I see these like foreign countries and like, or subways in America, and people are like bumping into each other. Bro, like, no, you can't be that close to me. And that's why I don't live in the city. But that's why like bump and snatches happen constantly. No, thank you. Don't want to partake. Not going to participate. We're not going to play this game where I got to hide my wallet all over my body. No, fuck that. Yeah. Fuck all that.
Not only that, but like, especially in places like that, when you're in a crowded subway car and you're just shoulder to shoulder, what's stopping someone to go in there with a pocket knife and just like go down the lane and just fucking.
That was one of the last cases that I was going to pull up, is that actually happened in New Mexico, where people were just getting stabbed for no reason. They didn't know who was doing it because he was just working his way through a crowd. But that actually happens way more often than you realize. That happened to me at Christmas one time. You got bumped and snatched or stabbed?
Long time ago, back when malls were a thing.
Yeah, when malls existed. Again, like hunters don't go to the city for deer. Like,
yeah,
you go where the getting's good. So you go to the mall around Christmas.
Yeah.
I was happy to drive.
Part of my dad's truck was loading the presents into my dad's truck. And this is another thing. No matter what we're talking about, if anybody wants to chime in and join us on Discord and talk about, like, tell us any stories that you have regarding, like, to whatever we're talking about, feel free to hop in. Hot one Sprinkles.
Nice.
Some guy tries to walk up. I mean, it doesn't say anything. See me in the corner of my eye and reach into my dad's toolbox and open it. I gotta say, Peter, you're really building the anticipation here. Can I help you?
That's the best answer. Can I help you?
Yeah.
Mine usually is "What's up?" because that throws everybody off. That's from doing security.
Mm-hmm.
What's up? What you need? And that immediately
Or-
puts people on the back heel because they're like, "What? Why are you asking me this?"
Or you stop right the fuck there. I like that one.
He asks for a ride. That's like, I thought the age of hitchhiking was over with, like in the 70s and 80s, like since John Wayne Gacy and Ted Bundy covered those bases. Like, ugh.
Dude, I've seen, I think in my lifetime, I've seen maybe like 3 people with a thumb up. Like,
well, I was going to say, and every mall has a fucking bus station, but you hit the nail on the head. He walks away and walks right past a bus that was displaying the city he was trying to get to. Yeah, man. Nah.
One thing that actually I really like, and I think you actually sent me this video, but it was a guy that was being interviewed who was a killer, or
most definitely was trying to rob you, no doubt.
But he was I forget what, but he was either a killer or someone who was a grapist. And someone said, like, oh, like, what made you, like, always choose your victims?
Oh yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, always look at the dad first, because if the dad's someone like weak or someone that I could, like, you know, overpower, then I could easily take the kid. And then it just shows like all these dudes just working out and like pumping iron. I'm like,
yeah,
yep.
It was one of the things that my father said to me when I was young, before I even had children. He says, if you ever plan to have a family, you have to be prepared to defend them. And he's absolutely right. 100,000%. And that's one of the things that drives me crazy with my current illness, because I feel like most of my strength has been fucking taken away from me. But it's getting to the point where my kids are getting older and they're going to want to go out and do things. And this world is getting ever more fucked up with Kik and all the stuff that you see out there. I said it as a comment to somebody that, you know, I become more of a hermit every day because I fear what my reaction is going to be to some interactions I see on Instagram and shit like that. Because I've had them, like, you know, people, oh, that's the internet. No, I've had those fucking crazy people conversations where you're like walking into a Walmart and the person who's like talking to themselves, talking about and the Jesus and the thing and the devil and and it's just like, okay, kids, back up. And the kids are just oblivious to it. They have no idea that, like, that person might be dangerous. There's a possibility.
Oh, dude, when I was in that apartment complex,
no, fuck fighting fair.
Ex, and she had her son who was like 2 or 3. He was 3 or 4, I think. I don't know. He was, toddler. We just get back from going somewhere. We're walking up to the steps to go to our, the apartment. And there's this guy with like no shirt on who lived on the bottom floor, like in like one of the first apartments that you walk in on. And he just got done like chasing someone in a car. And we're walking up to the steps, and this guy's just like no shirt and a machete in hand. And it's like nighttime, so I guess you can't really see it too well, but like just it's not like he was hiding it. But little kid, like he doesn't know any better. He just says like hi, and the guy just goes hey, holding a machete, and I just tell him like hey, let's keep it moving. Let's go upstairs. Come on, bud.
Unless there's a ring and a ref, there is no such thing as a fair fight.
Yep.
Peter, like there when it comes to on the street, it's for survival. I don't care what the fuck anybody says. I don't. I'm at the point now where it's just no. I will go home. I will go see my family. If you make the choice not to, that's your fault.
Yep.
That's it. That's how I live.
Yeah, having a kid definitely changed a lot of the way I look at certain things.
Got to protect them.
In regards to that, like I used to kind of always be like I'll open my door to anybody. I'll give anyone a shirt off my back. And but now I'm just kind of like I find myself more cautious to like opening myself up to people more.
You definitely should be. I mean, I approach everybody with the same level of respect that I have for anyone, but that level of respect can be earned or deducted within 10 seconds of a conversation. I could quickly deduce, but see, this is exactly this is why I study this stuff. I've been reading up on these things since I was like 15, 16 years old. And it's not just serial killers. Like they're very obvious, but crime in general. You gotta know criminals because they exist, because our government allows it to exist. Because they're constantly putting people right back out. That's why when you and I worked together and you dealt with situations like that guy who pulled a knife on you and how I dictated the situation and I made sure that nobody got hurt. You know what I mean? And then they got released because that's how fucked up our justice system is, that they were released within, 4 hours, 5 hours of getting picked up. You know, the guy was making bodily threats. He was going to harm somebody, but mitigated it. Nobody got hurt. Everybody got to go home because that was always my goal. So everybody gets to go home.
That's all we're there to do. Clock in, do our job, go home.
That's it.
I do not miss that job. Knives pulled out of me, getting fucking punched in the face by random naked crackheads. I'm fine where I'm at.
I'm becoming more of a hermit every day. Every day. Everybody walks down my street. I'm like, what are they doing? I live in a ultra safe neighborhood. My house is still covered in cameras. Front, back, and sides. Like, I just think I had this conversation with my stepfather. I think it's actually irresponsible at this day and age with the way that surveillance and everything is dirt fucking cheap at this point. You want cameras all over your house? $200. Okay. Used to be 2,000. How do you not protect yourself that way? All right, Peter. It
it's
was good. I was glad you stopped out and chimed in. Get some rest. Feel better.
good seeing you, Peter. Appreciate you stopping by. Rest well. Yeah, I used to. I mean, I still lock my door
Right?
to my car, any no matter where I am,
No matter where.
and it's not like I really ever like lived in any neighborhoods that were, you know,
You too, bro.
unfavorable or anything, but it was.
No, but
it's just a forced habit. I always lock my doors.
but
you know, 'cause they're
safe
safe to guard.
neighborhoods. This is the part that, like, every year where I live, we're a straight shot from Newark. Every year
Mhm.
there is a dozen, if not more, car thefts.
Yeah.
Now, where they happen is mostly the tourist area, because for some reason the tourist area, those people are mentally challenged and they leave their fucking keys on their front driver's side tire or behind their sunshade. Why? I don't fucking know. None of that makes any fucking sense to me.
A lot of people used to leave it right in that visor.
Like,
thing.
what? Why? I thought that was a thing in the movies. I thought that was fake.
yeah.
People actually do that shit.
Or like like under the floor mat.
What? All right, it's your fault that your Porsche got stolen. It's your fault. Your fault that your Range Rover, your brand new 2020 Range Rover, got stolen. Your fault. You fucking idiot. But when the thieves feel like they can get away with a lot more because the area is generally safe, because it's not as policed as heavily,
Mm-hmm.
then it becomes a target.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And my cameras are not just for if somebody does anything to my house directly, but if they're creeping it. If they're, because that's the other thing that, like, people don't realize is there's signs. I know this because I studied criminals. So I know that typically they'll case a place. So when you see a car go all the way up and down and then drives real slow, you save that video.
Mm-hmm.
If you got the car that parks out front and sits there for 4 or 5 hours at a time, you save that video. If you got somebody creeping around your house, you save that video and you report it because you got suspicious behavior on your hands. It's basic. But
yeah, I think I just have a camera. I have one facing my driveway, and then I have another one that
front and back is all you need.
Yeah, that's where it is. It's like right on the back door. You can't really see around it. But that's all we really need.
99% of the time, if somebody's going to break into a house that they know is occupied, they'll go through the door. They won't go through the window unless the window's open.
Yeah, as far as like serial killers and
stuff,
like, I could see why, like, look, I can see now that, like, you explain it like that and everything, I could see now, like, why, watching those documentaries or even just like looking up and studying, like, what makes them tick, what makes them want to do this. It's like
Richard Ramirez. You ever hear of him? I think he's the Golden State Killer.
Can't say I have. Richard Ramirez.
Is he the Golden State? No, he wasn't the Golden State. That was somebody else. The Night Stalker. They called him the Night Stalker because he used to go up and down everybody's house, check the doorknob. If it was unlocked, he would go inside and he would go stand in people's bedrooms and watch them. He did it for years until he decided to kill somebody. The Golden State Killer did something similar. That's why I got them confused.
Mm. Schizoid personality disorder.
Was it the Golden State Killer? I might have them mixed up with another one. Read too many
That's
of
the
these.
thing here. It says at 12, Ramirez was taken under the wing of his older cousin, a soldier in the U.S. Army who himself had already become a serial killer and rapist during his service in the Vietnam War. Mike his brother often boasted of committing gruesome war crimes in Vietnam. Shared Polaroid photos with Ramirez showing Vietnamese women whom he'd raped, murdered, and dismembered and decapitated. It is alleged that many of these photos decapitated women being tied to trees or wooden posts, both before and after they were SA'd and killed. Ramirez would later state, while incarcerated, that he was fascinated rather than repulsed by the images and stories his cousin shared with him. And even his cousin taught him how the skills he learned in the military, including stealth and kill tactics. Around this time, Ramirez began to seek escape from his father's violent temper by sleeping in a local cemetery. His father would often tie him to a crucifix in a cemetery overnight as punishment. Jesus.
Yeah, I'm not saying that McDonald's completely wrong, but
It's unknown if Ramirez, as a child, ever interacted with his younger death. Yeah, it says here Ramirez has been described as a made psychopath as opposed to a born psychopath. So do you think people can be born as like psychopaths? Like, do you think like shit's like because I personally don't believe that 100% of things that you are, and this goes for like cancers, diseases, personality traits, anything. Like, I don't think anything like anything beyond hair color and eye color and all that stuff. I don't think anything's truly genetic. Like, I don't think you can be born a killer necessarily. I think we're products of our environment.
Do I think that psychopathy is an inherited trait? That is an interesting. Yes. Yes, I think it is.
Really?
But I don't think it's like there's a gene. So I believe in something known as DNA memory.
Okay.
So I think that if I believe that people when we talk about our instincts, that those are DNA memory, latent characteristics, personality traits that are carried on from previous family members. So I think the propensity is there, but it no matter what, needs the environment to unlock it.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
So his significant abuse and then his interaction with his cousin opened up those things in him. Obviously his father has, like, that's the part, is like, obviously his father had some fucked up shit going on. If you're going to tie, like, do my kids drive me insane? Yeah. Would I ever tie them to a crucifix in a fucking graveyard and leave them there overnight? No. Not kinda, not maybe, not sorta.
It's not crossed my mind.
No.
Jesus.
Like,
yeah.
Like, no. So, and I love how they're like, he's a made serial killer, not an inherited one. But his father proved, like, most of these people come from abusive households. Almost all of them come from, almost all of them, not all of them. Almost all of them come from abusive households. So if the parents had, and it usually happens in steps, like even Richard Ramirez, like I said, his original crimes were sneaking into people's houses because he got the thrill of being stealthy, and he would just creep up. And then it got to the point where, you know, his mind started going like, what if you did this? What if you did that? What if you did this? And then he escalated, because that's what happens that's why they always say, like, it's obvious when somebody tortures animals, that it happens in steps. And yeah, that's the desensitization, whatever.
Desensitized wham.
Wham. Desensitization at work, and it happens in steps. Nobody just, and that's what you were saying earlier, like, just wake up and decide to do this. They never just wake up. It happens in steps, in usually increasing in aggression. Yeah, I believe in DNA memory. It's an interesting concept. They're starting to get to that. It's like, I think that, like, when you hear about people who are like scared or have highly specific phobias, but never had any interaction like that with that thing, trains, megalophobia, something along those lines, I think that's worked into your DNA. I think the uncanny valley is DNA memory. You know about the uncanny valley stuff, right? We talked about that.
I don't know.
So it's a fear of things that look almost human. Like things that don't look human, but even have like robots and stuff like that, they don't make their way to the uncanny valley till they actually start looking like humans. But when they hit like 95 to like 98% looking like a human, it really creeps the totality of the populace out. And that's because it's believed that there was something in our history that looked like us that used to kill us. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's the fucking Neanderthals, the Homeopithecus.
We were just talking about this last week too, when we were talking about evolution.
Yeah. Australopithecus. They're like the large mammals, primates, that maybe they looked like us and they used to prey upon us until we wiped them out. Or maybe it's vampires. Who knows?
That'd be cool. Yeah, this might be the one episode that we've done that I'm just like
the most uncomfortable episode.
Ugh. Good choice, John. Yeah, never have I ever.
See, I'm not the only one. Right there at the top, original Night Stalker redirects here for the unrelated serial killer commonly known as the Night Stalker. See Richard Ramirez. See, I'm not the only one who makes that the Golden State. What's up? Because this guy used to do the same thing, but he was a cop.
Wow.
Yep. So they come from all walks of life, all jobs, and it's usually power is most typically, it's either a hunger for power, a striving for power.
Yeah, I think that's I think that is something that,
and that's why most sociopaths
as a cue to be like, oh, like, yeah, I'm a cop, you could trust me.
That's why most sociopaths, most psychopaths are the reason why they do it is because it's a power game. It's a power trip. It's a power hunger that they do this kind of stuff. D'Angelo is interesting because he was hassling this entire neighborhood for so long that they had like a community meeting. And in the community meeting, a guy stood up and was like, this guy's a pussy. He's a coward. He's a fucking bitch. If he would show the fuck up, I would fucking kill him. Then that guy who stood up and do it was killed the next night. And it's because this guy showed up to his house and killed him. Pretty wild, huh?
It's funny how he was born in New York too. We were just talking about that, how it's all like, why is it always like New York and New Jersey? But this is California, right? This is the Golden State Killer.
Yeah,
guy.
he moved to California, but he was born in New York. There is an actual interesting statistic that correlates with all this stuff, is that the reduction in violent crime, serial killers, and murders in general, and the reason why they typically happened around cities is it trends with the use of leaded gasoline.
There was something I watched recently that was like tied to like something where like they stopped using gas with lead in it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, what the hell was it that I watched?
They slowly peated it out through the 80s. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing something about
that's like, you know how they love to be like, there's lead in the water. It was because it was in fucking gasoline. It was getting evaporated into the fucking atmosphere and landing in our drinking water.
Well, not only that, but everybody was like pumping their own gas back then, and
yeah, but it was because it was going into the atmosphere.
It gets absorbed in your exhaust.
Skin. Yeah, pretty wild, huh? And since that has decreased, since they've eliminated that, all of the violent crimes and everything have actually gone with it.
Yeah, because when did they stop using unleaded glass?
I think it had to be out. I think it had to be out of circulation by like 91.
Yeah, because I was just saying, the one thing I looked up, it said like most serial killers and stuff had like kind of dissipated by like 89.
But they really haven't. they still exist.
I'm sure they still exist, but like
their
we're not
prevalence,
getting as many like I feel like we don't have as many Dahmers, and
I think that is because of cell phones and that kind of stuff. People get caught a lot quicker than say like Bundy. You know?
Yeah, I think that's another reason why, because like in the 70s and 80s it was so much more common, but now like everybody's got a phone and a camera in their pockets that they can take, witnesses and word of mouth wasn't as definitive, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Meanwhile,
like in the 80s and 70s as it is today.
Meanwhile, you have the Texas killing fields and people are still disappearing, and those are unsolved. And that was in the era of cell phones, and they triangulated and even found cell phones out in the killing fields, but they never tracked the person who killed them.
Wait, so they know that that cell phones were there, but they never tracked them?
They tracked the victims, but they never tracked the actual killer.
So but they should be able to tell, like,
that's how they found the bodies. But they couldn't find the killer. He's still at large.
But you would think, like, all right, I'm monitoring this field.
Yeah.
And I see 2 cell phones.
Yeah.
And one is now not moving around, and that triangulation thing is just like
they don't know. They don't know whether his was a ping or what the deal was. They never found it.
That's
fucking wild. And what's really crazy is one of the parts that people don't understand is like you've heard of Randonautica?
Mm-mm.
You never heard of Randonautica? Jesus,
I've heard of
Steve.
Subnautica.
Jesus, Steve.
There's Subnautica, and then there's like the other
No, Randonautica.
Astronautica.
Randonautica
Isn't
is a mobile app that uses quantum random number generation. That's not true. It's not what it does. To provide users with coordinates to explore and discover new things in their local area. The app's creators believe that these quantum generated coordinates can reveal unexpected and interesting locations. No, what it is, it's actually a point aggregator, and it deduces, like, if you want a random spot, it will take all of the GPS coordinates that all phones put out and go like, okay, well, this one only gets pinged every so often, so go there. That's new, or that's sort of off the beaten path.
Is this app just telling people where to fucking hide bodies?
So what it was doing was actually telling people not where to hide bodies, but it was finding bodies because people were going to random ass locations where there was a random fucking phone ping and they were finding bodies.
Jesus.
Teens filming TikTok find dead body in a suitcase after randonauticing. Yep. Pretty wild, eh?
At first, childish laughs permeate the video, thinking it's filled with money. Yikes. There was one video that I saw that was like a woman, excuse me, a woman who had put her husband in a suitcase as kind of like a revenge thing because like he used to hit her.
Right.
And then he was saying like, I can't breathe. And she was like, good motherfucker. She's recording the whole thing while she's doing it. And she like went downstairs and watched TV and like fell asleep watching TV. And like,
I heard about this. Yeah.
Came back upstairs and he was dead.
Mm-hmm.
And she called the cops, like freaking out, crying. And she was like, and the cops were like, why is he in a suitcase? And then they finally like searched her phone and found like the video of her
torturing him.
Yeah.
So do you want to keep going on this subject? Or you want to cut it early? Cause I have to make a bathroom trip.
I'm down for cutting it early tonight. Okay. I mean, I feel like this is a topic that I'm not well versed. Like I even said before we were streamed, I'm like, you're probably gonna have to take the reins on this one because this is a subject I'm not too well versed in, and I'm probably not gonna have too much input. But are
you gonna research it afterwards?
Probably not.
No.
But I mean, I went a little like off my usual beaten path of Star Wars and like other random shit that my fandoms and shit.
I appreciate you getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything for you, John. Anything. Happy Pride Month, by the way, babe.
Albert Fish. Happy Pride Month, Albert Fish.
I was literally gonna be like, Happy Pride Month, babe. When are you gonna tell your wife about it?
You tell your wife about it. She knows. She already knows. She watches, dude. She knows.
She knows.
You only shave your ass when you're expecting company.
But yeah, I knew I was not going to be too helpful in this episode. I
pick Friday.
I don't know shit.
Pick Friday subject. What are we going to do?
That I will do.
What are we doing?
It's probably going to be Star Wars or something. No, it's not going to be Star Wars. It's going to be. I got to do something.
I need my comfort subject.
Yeah,
this made me so uncomfortable. I need my comfort subject.
Yeah, let me watch SpongeBob. That's totally like like crazy inducing shit.
Did, did I ever tell you? Did I ever tell you about the ex that shall not be named? And when she was talking about her son, and I was like, and I hit her with like all the child killers and like what leads them to that point, and she was like, she blocked me. Because there was something that she was talking about that I was like, huh, that's interesting. You should probably check this out. You should probably entertain putting him in therapy. She was like, fuck you, stop it.
Wait, the ex who shall not.
Your ex who shall not be named. Yes. Yeah.
Every once in a while, I still have fucking nightmares about that bitch.
Yeah.
Ugh,
They're fucking
what a
succubus.
what a shitty person.
Yeah, but if she was talking about something about her son doing some weird shit, and I was just like, she's like, does this ever happen to anybody? And I'm like, well, actually, yes, it's actually happened to a lot of people that end up with these kinds of problems on their hands. She was like,
that happened to have been institutionalized.
She was like, fuck you. I was like, I'm just being honest. And then she blocked me.
Oh god, what a piece of shit. What an asshole. I never anyway. I'll pick a
good topic. Pick a creepy topic. Pick something that's going to put me in my uncomfort zone. I dare you. Find something. Can you?
I know you hate those ear noises. I'll find something. Not
think about it. Don't you? We didn't
see,
do it right
see,
now.
that's the thing. See, that's the thing. You like really know how to push my buttons, and I don't know how to push yours sometimes, and it pisses me the fuck off. Like you'll just like when I was at your house that one day, and like you were, I had my shoes off, so I'm just sitting there like in the recliner, just like pushing your foot with my foot with your foot. I'm like, fuck off, and it's just like because I can't do feet, and feet are so fucking gross.
You have to have buttons to push. You have to have buttons to have buttons pushed. That's the thing is I don't have buttons.
Yeah, I gotta figure something out that'll get you all skivats. Or I'll just pick something cool.
I mean, yeah,
I'll think of something.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to like creep me out, or you don't have to skeeve me out. You can creep me out. I want to get creeped out. I want to find like, you know what I watch? When I get off of here and then I go and I hang out with my wife. You know what we watch? Like ghost and demon videos, like just this background noise. She falls asleep to them. And she wakes up and she tells me, she's like, I had the weirdest dream. And I'm like, well, maybe you should go to bed. Maybe you should get off the couch, stop listening to fucking. I was actually thinking about doing that too. I don't know if you want to. We could totally do that. We could watch like Slapped Ham or Bizarre Bub or Wilderness Whisper, and we can just critique them whether we think they're fucking real or not. That would be cool. Watch spooky videos and
see. I heard of Slapped Ham. I haven't heard of the other two.
They're guys that I watch.
I think oh, I know. You know what? I know what we'll get into, and we'll
okay.
I may have to run Friday's stream though. I may have to.
Sure.
So that way I could pull up things and I'll share my screen, and then
can you take me out of my comfort zone, Steve? Can you do it? Is it a possibility?
Yeah, because of all the things, of all the stories that we've ever shared and all the years that we've known each other, there's one thing that makes your skin crawl. And I know what it is, and I'm gonna do a deep dive, and I'm gonna try to find some shit.
I'm in.
All right.
Both feet.
I know. No feet.
Yeah,
God, no.
both feet. Are you kidding me? Both feet.
Stop. Don't even. Why is it even when you say it? I'm just even the word feet or foot are just fuck feet. Feet are stoked. Feet are dumb. Feet are so dumb. Feet are gross. They're stupid. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.
Good night, everyone.
This
Thank you
for this week's Wednesday fucking